thing most of us do in the mornings when we get into work is hop on our computers and check the news, right? And there is one site that pretty much everyone and their mother gets their news from, and that's Fark. Here with me today is the Fark founder, Drew Curtis. Welcome, Drew.
Thanks for having me. It's funny you should say everybody and your mother, because my mom gets her news from my site, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, her handle's Drew's mom. You can't miss it.
That's so great.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, some of our viewers may not actually be familiar with Fark, which I can't believe, but could you just give me like a quick synopsis of what it is?
Sure, yeah. Our readers scour the web, find about 2,000 news stories a day, send them all in, and we cut it down to about 75 really funny ones and post it, and that's basically how it goes.
Cool. So today you're here to show us the top 4 stories.
Yep, the top 4 stories arbitrarily picked by me as being the top.
I like that title. So what's your first story?
Alrighty, well, we've got the top story of the entire year, will surprise nobody, was obviously Janet Jackson's nipple on the Super Bowl. I mean, without a doubt, hands down, was number one. The funny story behind that, though, was the fact that I was actually in a casino in Las Vegas drunk. So I didn't see it. I missed the whole thing. But 2 of the guys that helped me pick links were on the day that happened, and they ended up catching it coming into the queue a minute after it occurred. Somebody had gotten onto their TiVo and screen capped the thing and sent it in. So they popped it up immediately, and we crashed that site. And so they found a replacement. They crashed that, and that went on about 14 or 15 times. But the funny thing about it is that the following Monday, that somebody, there was a journalist that wrote an article about that, talking about how when he saw that, the first place he knew to go to try to find out where it was on Fark, and sure enough, that's where it was. So, just luck, though. Like I said, if it had been me, I'd have totally missed it.
You were the first person to have a nipple.
That's right. Woohoo!
On the internet.
That's great.
All right, what is story number 2?
Story number 2 was back when Mount St. Helens was erupting, which, interestingly enough, it hasn't actually stopped. The media just got tired of talking about it. One of our viewers was watching one of the live webcams and happened to see a giant fly attacking Mount St. Helens. And I was really glad that they ended up catching this one. As you can see, the giant fly
looks dangerous.
Yeah, they tried to call him Godzilla, but he didn't quite make it. He's coming on the other side of the planet. But that ended up actually being one of the top stories of the year. It kind of surprised me. I actually liked it, but that's just me.
All right, and story number 3 is actually one that touches me in the heart. And the headline actually reads, if you're planning to propose marriage in front of a packed stadium, it's kind of important to make sure she actually likes you.
Yep, that's correct. Basically, a guy did one of those, it seems kind of commonplace nowadays, but, he took his fiancée down on the floor at halftime of an NBA game to propose to her, and he got down on the knees, you can see in the picture there. And he asked her if he would marry her, and she took off and ran. Literally, just took off and ran the hell out of there. It was great. Beautiful.
I love this web page because what it does is it gives you like a play-by-play with a picture. If you pull it up, it's just like, okay, crowd yelled hot and cold, and the women roamed, and then she ran off, and the marriage proposal ended up in a no answer. It was just like so no shocking. Answer. Everyone groaned. It was just like a straight play-by-play. It was
I don't think that was necessarily no answer. I think we know what the answer was. The answer was hell no.
Right. Now give me the another story.
Well, we've got one of the ones we found on eBay this year is one of my favorites. Was a man sold his ex-wife's wedding dress by wearing it on eBay. He was trying to clear out a whole bunch of stuff, and people are always trying to find unusual things to do to sell stuff on eBay, like taking pictures of themselves naked in the reflection of the object, be it a tea kettle or a guitar or whatever. This guy decided he would dress up in his wife's wedding dress and go ahead and post that on there, and got a crazy amount of hit. First guy that bought it, incidentally, actually defaulted on it. He had to post it twice.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But he eventually got it, and of course, made it on every talk show across the nation. So he had a good time with that.
And this last story is really interesting. It's about Kenny Rogers' bodyguard kicking a lot of butts.
Yeah, that's right. And as it turned out, it was completely fake. A good friend of mine, Bill Doty, down in Las Vegas, runs a site called BrokenNews.com, and that's with a Z, not an S. And he got really irritated with the fact that we see it all the time on Fark, where we'll put an occasional fake news story up just to see who's watching the site and seeing where it ends up. Like headline news will pick them up occasionally, and we'll see them on Fox, and BBC will get them once in a while. So he made this really good mock-up here that looks pretty much just like every other TV site you've ever seen in your entire life. Called it WTFTV.com, and you probably can guess what WTF stands for. I put this fake story up, did this nice little mock-up for this entire site, and then we listed it on Fark. And this was probably the most successful hoax of the entire year because all I can figure is it looked so good that no one bothered to check it. This actually made the AP, the only one we ever had this year that made the AP. Because usually they don't, the AP feed. Because the AP usually, they really fact check stuff really well, and I've only seen them actually get taken twice, and this was one of them. But ended up, he got calls from 20 different radio stations across the country. It was great.
Shows you where journalistic integrity is really going.
And the funny thing about this was the only place this was listed was our site. This site was created 3 days before we linked to it. It was the only place you could have gotten it from.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for coming on and showing us all of the top stories from Fark, Drew.
Yeah, hey, no problem, anytime.
All right. Now, if you would like to read up on Drew's top 10 news stories of the year, just head on to thescreensavers.com.